happy to have you back. Obviously, this is our first official chat for Fandomize, so welcome.
Just the official quarantine interview,
Woo,
which is
woo.
awesome, right?
We can always kick it off that way, and as always, I have some notes jotted down, but chances are we'll go off course.
As we always do, 100%.
Always the way to go, so we're totally good. But as we kind of are gearing up for the final season of The 100, a lot of fans wanted you to kind of share your favorite or funniest moments or memories on set. I know it's probably hard to choose, but maybe one or two that really stuck with you that you can kind of just give people a little glimpse as we kind of kick off the conversation.
Yeah. I think, man, there are so many over the course of time. I think one of my most fun memories is at the end of Ali season 3.
Mm-hmm.
We were all in the throne room together, and it was just the fact that all the cast was there together at one time. While it was such this deep despair, all this pain was happening. It was insane. People were getting off the ship. People were crying. We had so much fun that day, just being with each other. What I love most about this cast and everybody is that the more of us that are there, we just become a bunch of goofballs sometimes. Like when the work comes to work, we definitely lay it down and we tend to focus. Like even some of the most serious actors, when we get around each other, we just have so much fun. And it's such a blast that when Mike Beach, when Octavia killed him, me and Paige just decided mid-take to run over and try to revive him because we love him so much that we're just yeah, we'll just try to revive him if we can. Obviously it's not going to happen, but it's just these little fun things that we get to do together because it's rare that you get to build such a rapport with a cast like this, and we had a rapport really quick.
That's probably why they keep you separated so much during scenes, because when you guys all get together, it's just mayhem.
Yeah, 100% mayhem. Also, there was one day where we had to and I think I've told this story before, but we had to strap down this guy. I think it was Bayless. And me, Zach McGowan, I don't really remember who else was in the scene, but I just remember every time Zach had to strap him up, he would have to put it across here, his nipple would pop out. And it would be squeezed to the side. And the first time that we saw it, we looked at each other and then just lost it laughing. And then every take, for some reason, this thing would just pop out. And then the camera's panning around to everybody because the way the show shoots is very dynamic. So the camera constantly moves. But one time the camera goes down, we look at each other, we start laughing. And I can just imagine when the camera comes up, you just see us laughing. And it's so funny that it happens at these most painful moments. Have I ever told the story about Ty Olsson?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so Ty Olsson's character is lying on a gurney. Me, Marie, and Paige are there, and he was working on another show early in that day, so he was exhausted, and he has to lie on the gurney all the time. And anybody that naturally lies on a gurney inevitably falls asleep. It just happens. If you're there all day for 8 hours, you just end up passing out at some point. He started randomly just snoring in the middle of the take, and we had to pinch him to keep awake. While we're talking, while we're conversing about this, we have to get to Mount Weather, we have to do this. And then all of a sudden we hear
wake up, wake up, wake up.
Wake up, we have to finish the scene. Those moments are always at the most painful moments where something ridiculous happens and you can't. And obviously Grounder, if somebody says something in Grounder that sounds like an English word, you lose it immediately. It's just it's gonna happen.
That's inevitable.
We have so many.
I know. You should do a chronicles of all the memories, since obviously it's going to be ending and everybody's sad about it. But I know a lot of the other cast members expressed that, that as you guys were wrapping up, a lot of productions were shutting down due to the coronavirus. So you guys were lucky to kind of finish the series. But, a lot of them said that there wasn't much closure, in this chapter of your lives, since normally you would be able to see each other. But, now since you guys can't see each other, do you think you feel similarly to kind of that respect of not being able to close that chapter and being able to continue to kind of see people that you've been seeing every day?
In terms of not being able to close the chapter, I think initially it might feel like that because you don't get to have this huge wrap party. You don't get to do all these things that you weren't necessarily planning to do.
Yeah.
And I think looking at it now, after all this stuff that we went through, a lot of people worked very hard on that finale. And on the show, it kind of the stuff is so dark and over the course of time, and I think if it doesn't really affect you, at least in some aspect, then well, me personally, I just don't feel fully immersed in it if I'm not feeling it. I think this break was like such a time to be like, oh man, 7 years is done. Sit, think about it, enjoy. And this is just me personally. Just kind of appreciate and be grateful the opportunity that you were given for 7 years. I don't know. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it now because I've had 2 weeks by myself to think about it. But the show elevated my career and elevated my life in every possible way. From like I worked on a bunch of stuff before this, but never was I given the opportunity to come to a set and learn so much and grow as an actor and finally feel like confident and comfortable in my ability. And I think a lot of people don't get the opportunity that we did on this show. And they gave me this. For what reason, I don't know. Why they kept Jackson around, I'm grateful. Whenever he might go this season, if he goes, we know that he's alive this season. But I'm so grateful. And it's such an enduring thing. I'm going to end up rambling here. But it's such an enduring thing that this show has done, is that they've cast people. Jason has cast people that he just liked. They're necessarily not stars, not humongous people, but he gives people like a life. Actors that maybe were nothing, just fresh out of school, fresh out of whatever. He's like, no, I like that. I see something in that person. I'm going to change their lives because I know they're good enough to do this. And that to me, in this industry now that is full of, which is not bad because we get stars on TV. I think that's really great. But for somebody and people, Jason Kim, to point at people and be like, oh, look at this person with 0 credits. I'm going to give them the keys to the kingdom and shape their life and change them. That to me is such a beautiful thing in the industry that I don't think happens as much anymore because everybody's looking for a sure thing. And that has to be commended. So for me personally, somebody who is an absolute, like, why was I here for 7 years? Jackson didn't even do that much for that. They could have randomly, he was a nice guy. They could have killed him so long ago just because it would have been like, oh man, that nice guy's gone. But they do that for people and to people. And that to me, this show is something special because of that. So me, for this 2 weeks, to go back to your normal question, has been a time of gratefulness, a time of honor and respect to all the people that have changed my life, including people like you, fans that I've been able to talk to over the course of time. Be gracious of like the conventions we get to go to. I met, my convention agent, now one of my best friends, Danya, I met during this. I met my best friend, Jared. Everybody. So this time, that's what it's been for me. I haven't really been upset necessarily about the lack of rap party and stuff. I've been just so eternally grateful for the opportunity I was given for 7 years, and I got to sit in it I get to sit in it.
You got to reflect and kind of look inwards and kind of, go back in time, over these 7 years. Now, obviously, without giving any spoilers, we can't touch upon any of that stuff. But do you feel that, Jackson fans will be happy with how his story ends, whatever that may mean for him?
I'm not going to answer that. I'm not going to answer that. I love no spoilers. I'm like a huge spoiler police. But what I can say is that
gratifying. Is it a gratifying story? Like, even though if it's not like tied up in a nice little box, do you think that, there's some gratification to your character?
I had so much fun this season. I had so much fun doing the season because from Jackson's perspective, I'll speak on the show and then I'll speak on Jackson and then on the show. From Jackson's perspective, it was so fun because it's like something so new for him, as it is every year. This show is crazy in that every year we've never gotten bored doing this show ever because it's so like there's never something that's the same. Every script you get, I've tweeted it that I've seen the pilot. Not the pilot, the first episode. I didn't know we were making that. We film it, we film these scenes, we do all this stuff, but when I watched it, afterwards I stood up and said, I didn't know we were making that. Because when you see it, you'll totally understand, and there's no real way to talk about it until you see it. And I can't wait for you guys to see it because it's just something so different. And after 7 years to still be able to do that is the coolest. So from Jackson's perspective, I'm gonna shut off these from Jackson's perspective, it felt every day felt like a new day. Something new was happening, and he was just trying to figure it out. And from the show's perspective, I can't wait for the fans to see it and talk about it, because after this is done, we are all going to be able to talk about 7 years of leading up to a culmination of this final season that they get to tell on their own terms, which is so cool.
Yeah, hopefully they tie up some loose ends. We shall see how everything plays out, but I imagine a new vibe for the last season, and we're all kind of looking forward to that. Hopefully, obviously we don't have to wait too long, so that's good. But hopefully we'll.
No, I mean, we keep saying May 20th, and I hope it's still May 20th.
Yep.
With all the stuff that's going on, I'm so happy that they got to finish.
I know.
Because we were right on the cusp there, and all of a sudden they got to finish, and that was so good. Like that warmed my heart more than anything.
Right. Well, yeah, it could have been bad. I mean, if you guys couldn't finish, then that could have been just delayed, and who knows when things will kind of go back to, some sort of normalcy. So at least they can work on it, hopefully, in their own little quadrants, and then.
That speaks to the efficiency of the crew. I'm going to shout out to the crew that we've had, because we've had them for a long time, and this is not an easy show to shoot. And yet the leaders that we have on set, the leaders that come to set and make sure everything gets done properly, and the cohesive unit that we have, that crew is so good and tight-knit and such good people. It was such like man, I don't know, we became like this symbiotic team of like just understanding each other through words, taking a joke to each other to alleviate any sort of tension, and then moving on and understanding, okay, this is this, great, let's do this, done, let's do that. And that kind of rapport only happens over time. But yeah, crew. They're the reason we got finished.
The cohesiveness, of course. And I'm assuming there's a lot of talks about this prequel that, is going to be set up hopefully in one of these episodes. I'm assuming you know nothing about it, but can you tell us what you think the prequel will be like, or what it might be?
I don't know if you know this, but I really like the show. I'm not really sure if you are aware.
I don't think I'm aware of that. I didn't know you liked it.
I pay attention to it a lot, and the amount of mythology that they've created about a time that we haven't seen is unbelievable. This prequel could be anything. They have talked about so much. There's a wealth of information, which is, I think, brilliant mythological storytelling. I love when shows do that. When they talk about this time that you have not seen, but it's bled into everything that you do. And now, say you want to do a prequel, you've just written a book about the things you could do. And that to me is like so exciting. So it could be anything, but they have so much to work with. And I love the idea that this show doesn't like just act like things didn't happen. They always like find ways to intertwine and weave and things. And so like, I just want to know how they're going to do that, but I know they have a plan for it, because you can see their eyes light up whenever they talk about it, as much as they deliver, which is not very much. And again, the cast, new, completely fresh, exciting humans. It's just going to be so, I don't really know the full cast. I think I know 3 people got released, but I'm like, good. It's still maintaining this idea that, you don't know what you're going to see. You don't know what you're going to watch. It's so awesome.
It's going to definitely be interesting. I mean, would you like to see any familiar faces from the 100 in the prequel, maybe playing new characters?
I mean, Jackson's grandpa, for sure. Great grandpa. I don't necessarily know how often stuff like that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's so set in the past that I don't necessarily know how plausible that is. So like familiar faces, maybe they'll find a way to do 1 or 2 shows. They're always brilliant with their stuff. But I'm very excited to watch it, because it's like going to be during the season that we get to watch it. So I just I'm glad that I don't have to wait for like a pilot in like 2 years, I know.
That's always the toughest thing. You hear about something and then you're waiting endlessly for it. And obviously in the 100, there's a few new characters we can expect from this new season. Is there anything you can tell us about any of the new characters, if you are going to be interacting with any of them, and without going into too many details, because obviously we don't want to spoil any type of premises.
Yeah, 100%. I can say from seeing the first episode, I love Hope.
Mm-hmm.
I love Shelby Flannery. She's such a good person as it is, as a human. She just seamlessly fit in with everybody because she's so awesome and just artistic, and it's always nice to bring that fresh energy on set. But watching her in the first episode, I was like, yes, that's. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going to go on here, but it's awesome. I think everybody this season was so focused on bringing their A games because they knew it was the last one. And even the newer people that were coming were like, oh man, this show's been on for 6 years. I better come and bring my A game. So everybody just came in focused and ready. And so every day at work was a joy because it was full of such absolute focus and attention.
Mm-hmm.
And yet at the same time, everybody just appreciating everybody else for being there. You know, I had such a fun with whatever group I was in this year. I had so much fun with them because they're such class acts and brilliant people that again, just so much gratefulness. And I try so hard not to say #blessed, but like that's where we are on this show.
Sometimes it's necessary.
With the prequel, we're just so happy that it gets to continue. Like, how dope is that like, oh man, we're done for 7 years, but this thing gets to continue and we get to kind of live through it in a way, in a sense. Because man, I'm gonna love this show until the end and support it until the end because of what it's done for all of me and my friends and the people that I care about. You know, yeah, Jason, Kim, all the writers that have always been on the show from the beginning. I met so many great ones. Sean Crouch was on the show this year, who's awesome. Man, we just got so lucky with the group, and I hope it gets to continue forever with these amazing people.
Well, when you do have streaming services and the fan base, it's something that can live on forever, and new generations are going to find, these shows and hopefully be able to, watch it, talk about it, whatever kind of communication we have in that time. We'll see how people interact. But now that you've kind of closed that chapter and you had a lot of time to reflect on, the 7 years of the 100, did you get any chance to think about what kind of role you would like to take on in the future? Something different from Jackson or something similar? What are we looking at?
That's so. How do I say this? Jackson, when I first got the show, was not in my wheelhouse. I'm a pretty energetic human. I've got a lot of the best word for it is I have a lot of personality. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I make a lot of jokes. Anyways, Jackson was something I had to learn how to do over time, and that's why I was like, every day I showed up to the set, I'm like, why am I still here? This is not. I've got to really act to be this guy. So it was really a blessing to play Jackson because I learned so much. So patient and so calm. I'm pretty patient and calm with people, but he's just so still when he speaks. I speak like this with my hands. I'm Indian, so I would love to play somebody with a little more personality. You know what I mean? With a little more. Let me go a little bit more. Let me make some choices, because I found with Jackson, when there were times where I wanted to change him or make extraneous choices, when I got there, it just didn't work, especially where the scene was going. He's written in a certain way to help the scene move along in a certain way. And if I deviate from that too much, the scene doesn't work because two people are playing the same thing. And I'm very protective of, what I think the scene should be. I think it's a group dynamic that we're playing with here, and everybody's got to play. If your character is the one who has to be a moral compass, he can't come in there and just be, hurling swears at people. It's not something that can happen. So I'm very protective of that, and what's been written on the page. So I would like to have somebody who is a little more freewheeling, I guess, is the best way to say it, because I think all my best work, is done on TV, movies, and other stuff where I'm just somebody that can just kind of go, and I would love to be able to show that off on a grander scale, I guess.
Well, we hope so. Yeah. We're sending good vibes once you're able to still do stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, hopefully on another thing or whatever it may be, because I just want to shout out, I was in a great acting studio here for 10 years, And what's great about that with Deb Podolsky at Deb Podolsky Studios, I believe it's called now, and you get to go there and scene study, and you get to do so many different characters and things. And sometimes in this industry, I'll try not to go on a rant here. I'm an Indian actor, so 90% of the stuff I go out for, I think most people can get if you know how to say jargon really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment you walk in there and you try to make a choice with some of this stuff, they don't want that choice because they're just trying to get somebody in there that'll say the words that's medical and focused and all this stuff. Jackson got to have a little more relationship and personality. And he wasn't just an Indian guy. He got to have like a point of view and stuff. A lot of the stuff we go out for don't have these things that I was lucky that Jackson as a doctor had. I'm in a weird position in this industry, and this is, I don't want to sound like a woe is me situation, because it's not. I've been very lucky, and I still am very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when they're looking for an Indian character, I'm not necessarily look specifically Indian, but if they want a person who's not Indian, the stuff I've been up for, the leads I've been up for, usually go to somebody who's I would say not ethnic, because they won't want necessarily an Indian lead. That's the stuff, that's the situation I've been in. And it's kind of cool to be in a blend, because that means you get to go and bounce back and forth between stuff. But I would just love to play somebody with a little more personality, and who's not necessarily just there to say these words this way, because I think anybody can do that.
Yeah. No. Well, hopefully we'll send out the good vibes, and once this is all over, hopefully you'll land something that you could really sink your teeth in. And obviously, it's weird times. We are kind of stuck in our houses, doing a lot of live streams, catching up on life. What are you doing during this downtime to kind of stay safe and to, stay sane? Because obviously mental, physical health, all that is a big thing during this time.
That's a good question. I'm working out every day, like twice a day, just because there's not much else to do. So I feel like I'm actually in better shape now than I was before the quarantine, which is very, very cool, because I might just actually stick with whatever routine I'm doing here for a while after the quarantine, whenever it ends. I've watched Sex Education. I've watched Succession. I'm currently finishing Ozark Season 3. All three magnificent. Oh, obviously Tiger King.
Yep.
Wait,
hold on. Before we keep going,
yes.
Do you think that Carol killed her husband?
I do.
I do too. I think we all do.
I keep rewatching that. I'm like, I don't know, rethinking that. I'm like, I don't know if I've been framed by the show to think this way, because he could have just disappeared over the Atlantic. They completely went over that he was in a really bad plane.
But still, who leaves all their money? He could have just divorced her and taken all his money.
So the two things that make me think she might have done it, one, his daughters were so adamantly and upset. They're like, she did this, she's nuts.
Yeah.
So they have a personal relationship with her more than anybody else did, and they all think so. Then that. But also because everybody in the big cat industry seems to be off their rocker.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are in a big cat industry of some sort, you seem to be not necessarily, you're just, there's something quirky about you, and I don't know what that is. So if she's in there, there's something quirky about her, and she's very stoic and prim and proper, and her response to years ago, she has the exact same party line for what she told the cops to what she's exactly saying now, as we all saw.
Yeah.
So I think she might have done it.
It's a little too rehearsed. And there's so much hypocrisy, with her kind of operation. She's kind of doing similar things to what she's accusing everybody else of doing. So, but interestingly enough, I saw her not her granddaughter, I think it was Dawn's granddaughter on TikTok, and she was basically now that all this is coming out, people are doing all these crazy TikToks and talking about the Tiger King and stuff. And even she was saying hey, why would he leave his millions? Why would he leave his family? You don't just drop off the face of the earth because of, one woman that kind of, says they're going to kill you or whatever. You kind of fight back and use your
restraining order against her. There's obviously that he had a restraining order against her prepared. There's something up with Carol that we don't know about.
The will was a little weird, saying upon his death or disappearance. I don't think that's a standard thing that you put in a will.
Legit. upon, just in case.
Just in case he disappears, he gets fed to the tigers. I mean, I'm still here. I get the money. Like what? But yeah, I was gonna ask you if you were watching that because that seems to be the talk. I was putting it off for a long time. The other day, I was like, all right, let me put this on. I'm like, this is insanity. All right, well, we'll finish this. See it through. So, but yeah, definitely. What else are you doing? You're working out. You're catching up on some great shows. Not Tiger King included.
Some music that nobody's gonna hear. I started playing some piano, reading books. I'm basically doing everything. Honestly, like an actor's life, you have a lot of days where you kind of do nothing. It happens. A lot of actors that I'm talking to are like, it's not an it's just a lot more of these days in a row, and you're not going out at night. So you got to find ways to fill your time, and hopefully just stay sharp and stay mentally aware. So it's like something that I think we've been working towards for a bit. So it's not outlandishly bad, but it's after as time goes on, it's like, okay, I miss my friends. I've been lucky that I got Star Wars Battlefront 2 that I've been playing with a bunch of my friends, Ben, Adil, Richard, and Alex Prima, and we've been playing that ridiculously a lot. So that's been a blast. I've played more video games than I have in the last 10 years. I feel like I'm a kid again, so that's pretty great.
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, once this is all over, what's the first thing that you want to do when you're allowed to, go out and be social again and it's safe?
Oh man, that's a good question. I want to get back to work. I don't feel, if I'm not working, I have to find ways to get work, make myself busy to do work. So I want to create stuff. I want to make things. There's something that I was making that was going to happen just before this happened. So that was shut down. I would love to get that up and running as soon as possible again, because I love to work. That's when I feel like I'm having fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. It's weird. I mean, I'm working part-time. I'm doing, my regular 9-to-5 job, and then I'm doing, Fandomize and stuff. And it's still just like, it hasn't really hit yet, I don't think, because I'm still kind of doing similar things that I would be doing. It's obviously a little different, but it still hasn't really hit that, hey, this is, a change. Do you have any words of advice for people who are very social, who are kind of out of their routine and are struggling with this kind of self-isolation regimen? Because I know there's a lot of people who are not introverts like, us, well, like myself, who are kind of like okay with this kind of bubble. So how do you think, what could people be doing to kind of make sure that their mental health and well-being is staying up to par?
That's a good question. And I'm obviously not a expert on the subject, but what I would recommend is getting a group together on Zoom or whatever the things where you can be really social on, and play games and have an hour or a certain time per day or every couple days that this is our allotted hangout time. So that something is coming. Mm-hmm. You have preparation for be like, oh, okay, this is when I'm going to see my friends. This is where we're going to talk. And maybe do that with 1 or 2 or 3, however many groups you can do that with, I hope people make them online where like people who necessarily don't have anyone currently to talk to, that they can have a group of people that they just randomly talk to or play poker with or play online games with, anything. But I think it's important for people to have structure during this, because lack of structure is what usually makes people feel really anxious. I know if I don't have structure, I don't feel very good. So I think creating a day structure and maybe like writing down, even having the idea of what you're going to do per hour, and if it changes, that's fine. Do not be guilty, but anything during this time, don't be upset with yourself for not doing anything. If you feel like being productive, do it. If you don't, but don't feel bad about yourself, because we're all going through something here that is something we've never seen, and maybe something we might never see again in our lifetimes. So allow yourself to live in that, and do your best to find structure, find ways to be busy if you need it, and if you need that social aspect, create some fun to do that with some good people. Have a night, a couple of drink parties, maybe make cooking parties, do whatever you enjoy. Find people that enjoy that and do that with them from a distance.
Right. Yeah. We all know the real person behind this virus is Zoom, since they are getting all the action for all the classes. There was a really funny meme of like the Scooby Gang, and they're like pulling the mask off the villain, and it's Zoom behind it, and I was dying. I was like, at least some good memes are coming out of this situation.
Yeah,
Obviously, it's a very serious situation, but we have to have some sort of silver lining, or else we drive each other mad or ourselves mad. But now I have some quarantine related questions that kind of tie into the 100. So now if you had to be quarantined with anybody, any character from the 100, past or present, who would you choose?
Quarantined with any character from the 100. It's a very good question. Probably, I mean, Monty can make algae. Monty can just make everything.
He's very useful.
Monty is like super, super resourceful, and also he's fun to have around. Like he's not just a super science nerd. I think Jackson would be so boring to have around. It's like, oh, I'm gonna read another novel. What are you gonna do? Jax, come on, let's do something. This is the history. I've read *Sapiens* 4 times.
You could be like Josh Gad, and you could just read to Monty all of your novels, and he just could go to sleep.
Legit. Monty's a fun one to have around. I mean, if we had, I'm gonna have to go with Monty, I think.
I think that's a good choice.
Yeah.
And now, can you choose one character from the 100 that would save us from COVID-19?
Jackson.
The code. Jackson. There you go. See, he's useful.
He's so useful. He's got to step up now. He's the head doctor.
He's the head BIC. Let's go.
Yeah, that guy lives in the lab. I've read *Sapiens* 4 times. I know how to do this.
All right, let's get a little weird. In the world of the 100, what would be your go-to quarantine meal?
Not people.
Hey, dire times. You don't know.
Not people. Some panther.
Yeah.
That's a classic answer. Maybe some 2-headed deer.
Shish kebab.
Yeah, maybe some sea monster for dessert. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, desperate times come for desperate measure. You gotta live.
You gotta eat what you got.
And obviously conventions, across, the world have been postponed. They're being canceled, obviously, for the safety of their guests. Conagain was one of the ones who was, postponed. It was something that we would be going to in the next, several days. But hopefully we'll see everybody at the end of October. Do you have any, nuggets of wisdom for the fans who, we're so excited for this convention to happen next week, and then, now we have to wait 6 more months to kind of see everyone and be reunited with our con family?
Yeah, I know it's disappointing, and it's going to feel disappointing, but just know that these cons have put a lot of work into these things, especially the ones that have been going on for a long time. Paris, for example, and they're going to happen. So something's happening in this world right now that needs to happen, because we have to be safe, and we have to be healthy and make sure that we are making sure that everybody is safe, and that's why we're staying home. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't have it, you have to act like you do have it, because if you do and you don't know, you might give it to somebody who might not handle it as well as you're handling it. So that's why we're staying home. So it is disappointing, but these things are going to happen, and they'll be postponed later. And what's great about it is, a lot of times, if you think about the silver lining of this for these conventions, we come to a convention now before the show airs.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to talk about last year that nobody wants to talk about anymore because they've already seen it. And we don't get to give any spoilers for season 7. And it's this kind of like give and take of frustration. I'm on stage yelling, may or may not happen, But if it happens while the show is airing and or after the show has aired, we get to talk about 7 years. And together, we get to live through this show in that convention, which may be our final one, who knows. But we get to kind of have our 7-year culmination at this convention, because I know a lot of people have come to these conventions for 7 years. Yeah. We know a lot of people that have done it from the beginning to now. So imagine that we get to live these conventions together, talking about everything that's ever happened and talking about the finale and the whole season, because I think that would be very cool. So if there's a silver lining to that, it's that we get to actually have our closure with each other, the people that have built this whole thing together, I think.
Well, yeah, I think that's great. I never really thought of it that way, especially because, everybody's waiting for a trailer to drop, especially, with, kind of getting being so close if it was going to happen in April. So I think having it in October, one, it's nice and chilly. I like chilly weather, so that's good. And two, we can obviously discuss a lot more, and you won't have these frustrated fans and frustrated actors that are like, I can't say anything, and just like looking at each other like, yep, this isn't a great interview kind of thing.
Also, what happens to Jackson this season?
He may or may not die. He may or may not be happy. We don't know. He might solve world hunger. We don't know what's going on.
Imagine I get to come to a convention and I never have to say, and I don't have to say may or may not.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. What happened to Jackson this season? Well, let me tell you.
Let's talk about Jackson.
Yeah, I would love that.
No, I think that's great. I know this is a very strange time. It might be a lot of people are saying it's kind of the reset the world needed to kind of get us to, take a second. Like I know my parents, they're older, so they, have been calling their aunts, which one of them is turning 100 this year. So just checking in on people and just, people that you might not talk to regularly, just really see how they're doing because there's a lot of people who are by themselves and don't have, that interaction, whether it's, technology related or whatever. So I definitely think, us slowing down and really kind of looking at what's important and hopefully doing the right thing because there's still a lot of people who don't believe this is a real issue. So hopefully everybody can kind of pull together and humanity can come out on top this time around, but we shall see.
During something like this, you have to look at the silver lining because otherwise, if you look at it as this thing that's taking over the planet, it's just going to fill you with despair. But actually, it fills you with so much. There's so much that we have, and so much that we can do for each other. It puts us all on the same level, really. We're just caring about other people because we're worried about other people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
And it puts you at a base level of everybody. And I think it's so important to remember this time as a reset. We were running so hot for so long. This planet was like, we were all overheating, I think, and even without even knowing it. I was saying this to my friend the other day that like actors are not like, we're not rocket scientists. We're not, curing any disease or anything, but you consistently are at, you're always at like a 6 or a 7 because you know that at any point you might have something important to do tomorrow. Whether it be an audition, whether it be work that comes out of nowhere, whether it be learning a 10-page monologue for this, whatever. So no matter what, whether you're at a dinner, whether you're out anywhere, you always think, I might have something to do tomorrow. So I don't think I've felt this thing for 10 years. Because a lot of times people go, you have a 9 to 5 and then you come home and you get to kind of reset and relax, watch TV or something. I don't think as an actor who's like started working at a restaurant and then was working at multiple different things before this while still doing auditions and all this stuff, there's not really a peace that kind of comes. And I think we chose this job because we enjoy that kind of chaos. Same time, that's just my experience, and I want everybody to understand what their experience is, how they were maybe running too hot, or how things that they were doing that maybe were unhealthy or to themselves and their own personal well-being. And I think it's a time to reflect on those things and maybe change them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And just that appreciation for the people on the front line, for, people who are keeping those, shelves stocked and, who you might have looked down, upon just because, they're working at Walmart or whatever it is. Like these are the people that are keeping America going and keeping people fed and hopefully healthy. So I think just like taking a second, and thinking about how overworked America is and how, things are just not right, in the world that we do need to change. So, it's a terrible wake-up call, but hopefully it is a wake-up call and we can move forward and stronger because we can't keep going like this. We're going to burn out, indefinitely.
100%.
I agree.
Yeah.
And appreciation for the arts. I mean, everybody's obviously watching TV. We're watching shows where, all the famous people are doing their lives and, doing fun little concerts. And
what I love about this is like how everybody is just, I love the crazy random push-up challenges. I love the makeup challenges girls are doing. I love all this stuff because people are like, there was such like this stigma behind social media before, because I can see there's so much good to it. There is so much bad to social media. Do not get me wrong. And I wish some way we could wipe that away because I do think it's a cause for a lot of stuff. But this is what it was made for. Social media was specifically made for a situation like this we could all connect, be connected with each other, and brighten each other's day in a snippet of whatever. And I'm really enjoying that people are really absorbed in that. I'm talking to friends I haven't talked to in years. I'm on FaceTime with certain friends every day. It's pretty great. And there's a lot of really positives that have come out about it. And I think we're lucky that we're in a time that social media exists for something like this. And I hope, again, afterwards, it gets rid of, I know this might be a pipe dream, but there's a lot of negatives that come with it. I hope we realize that, how positive it can be, and it can be a positive, uplifting experience for everybody. It doesn't have to be this, dark despair where you watch something and it makes you mad for no reason.
Yeah, no, I definitely hope that this is something that can help people. I mean, even for my grandparents, they're, in their 80s, and we can't obviously see them because we want to make sure that they're safe. We're not fearful for our safety, we're fearful for their safety. And it's obviously takes a toll on them because they are used to seeing kind of, their grandkids and great grandkids and stuff. And just being able to, FaceTime with them and show them, my niece Mia, who they like absolutely adore. They're FaceTiming with them for, 3 times a day. And if we didn't have that technology, then you don't really know where those people would be who might, have a harder time with kind of this isolation, because it does take a toll. So I hope that, social media and just the technology of it kind of helps us in the future versus kind of all this negativity that you obviously of all people know. It takes a toll with all these kind of trolls and just going at you for no reason just because they want to, but it has been a lot of positive stuff, and I hope that continues, because I don't see any kind of light at the end of the tunnel quite yet. So we're gonna need to kind of hang in for a little while longer to make sure that this is taken care of.
Thank you for doing something like this to give people something to watch if they want to watch me.
Yeah. They definitely want to watch you. They don't want to watch me, but they'll watch you.
Speak for yourself. I've been watching you for however long this has been. I've had a great time.
Right? They'll be like, Sachin, yes, we want to look at him, not her. Who is she? Who cares? But it's always a great conversation, and everybody does look forward to this. So hopefully I can keep it going and cycle through, some of the people that I consider my friends now. Just because they're, what else are you gonna do? You gotta give people something to look forward to.
The show has given us so many different friends and so many different.
No, it's crazy.
On so many different things. It's been like such a what a ride.
I know.
And because I'm thinking about this might be how many more of these are we going to do about the 100? Maybe one more tops.
Yeah, we'll probably have a conclusion, and then we'll see each other at Kind of Get It and have lots of fun and talk about wrestling and all that good stuff. But yeah, then the next time we talk after this will probably be one of your new projects. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I cannot wait to. That's something I'm very excited about. I cannot wait to announce something else because again, this show has given me so much. I think capability is the word. I just feel so much more capable, and I'm excited to kind of show off that in a role that is someone fresh. I'm just really amped for what the future is. Like there's a lot of I think a lot of fear usually at the end of a show. I have not felt 1 ounce of, oh my God, I'll never work again. It's more of I can't wait to see what's next. I'm so excited for whatever life brings.
Right, and you've got that sunbeam shining down on you, so we know that something good is coming. It's just the perfect way to end the conversation. It's like, yeah, we got you, Sachin, we're gonna go.
I'm looking out. I'm excited. Yeah, I'm just really amped for whatever the future brings. It's great.
Well, we hope, and I'll be along for that ride.
Maybe that'll change once the show airs and it's done, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do with my life? But for now, I'm just
find something. When one door closes, another one opens, and there'll be many doors opening for you. I know for sure. It was always a pleasure, Sachin.
What are you doing? What's your new thing that you're doing? Tell the people.
Yeah, so I decided after 31 years of living, I was going to start my own business, and it's called Fandomize Media, and the website is called Fandomize, and I have a really good group of writers that have come along with me from other projects that I've worked on, and we just really, obviously having a big site would be great, but we just want to work on things that we're passionate about. We want to put the quality over the clicks and not, sensationalize things. We want to just talk about things that we love and hope other people love. So that's kind of the new venture that I am taking on. I still obviously have my 9 to 5 job because you got to pay the bills, but it's something where I was like, hey, it's something you got to do now or never. And if you fail, you fail, but at least you tried. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I've had a lot of, obviously, friends over the years that I've built relationships with in the entertainment industry, and everybody's so supportive, and they're always there to offer a helping hand, and that's all I could really ask for.
Well,
so.
You're one of the good ones, Mackenzie, so we're all very excited about you. I know I am excited about it, and there's no failure in whatever you're doing. This is just a beautiful time of life, especially in the arts. You go out there and you give it, and you're doing more than 90% of the population does by doing something like this. So be proud of yourself, and I'm really excited to see what happens for you.
Oh, thanks, Sachin. I appreciate it so much, and I can't wait to talk to you again, and hopefully we'll see each other in October and we can celebrate officially. And keep me posted on everything that you got going on, because once this all kind of levels out, I'm sure big things will be emerging after the 100.
I love it. Let me know if there's any shows I should be watching.
All right, I will. I'll keep you posted.
Bye.
Bye, Sachin.